Yeah, I don't even know necessarily what I was going to say, but I think probably the basic theme of what my message would be is how important it is that I had the support of my parents, which I did. It was tough at first. Because obviously it was a good 3 years while I was in high school until I went to college where things seemed to really improve. But having their support, at least knowing that they loved me, and that that it was something that we were going to get through as a family. That's what I don't know how I would have done it without that. And they were actually my really kind of my friends growing up. And I actually was telling this to a friend last night who I discovered we were from the same very similar hometown. And we were talking about the old movie theater that was there. I was like, that's right. I was the one that was there with my parents sitting in the movie theater where everyone else was with their friends. Because the struggle that I had started before I really even knew that I was gay. I knew that something was different about me growing up, but actually there was a rumor started by someone that they could probably pick up on different things with me. But someone started that, and then once that rumor starts, then you might as well be truly have come out because no one wants to be associated with you. So that's kind of when my parents became my best friends. And then there was a point in high school when I can remember the exact time where it was, but I realized this all makes sense that I'm gay now. I'll tell the story. There was, growing up, you always you have these stereotypical image of what gay is. Especially it's changed a little bit now because there's more common figures on TV and things like that give you a better perspective. But back then, it's always the flamboyant one that's on movies and stuff like that. And that's not me. I don't get that. That's not me. So I never thought whatever this feeling's going on, it's not gay because that's not me. And then there was someone in high school that was actually out, and I didn't know that. And I remember sitting at lunch, someone saying, "Yeah, that's so and so. They're actually gay and they're out." And all of a sudden, I looked at him, and he seemed normal and nice, and all of a sudden, it resonated with me. I was like, "That makes sense. Like, being gay doesn't having these feelings doesn't mean you have to be the flamboyant, extra that's on some movie." But then the struggle came once you're realizing this within yourself, which was a relief in some ways because it kind of made a lot of things make sense, the way that you were feeling. But now I had to come out to my parents, and I had to because they were my best friends, and I couldn't keep a secret like that from them. So then there became that struggle of how do I do this? What do I say? What is their reaction going to be? But certainly the thing that I did know is I knew that they would still love me. I knew that. And I think that's probably the most important thing. Because I have so many friends now that a lot of them do have supportive parents and they have great relationships with their families, but there's a lot of them that don't, and their parents either still don't know or they've told them and it hasn't gone well. And I do think some of them, I'm thinking one person in particular is one of my best friends, and I still think there's a part of him that feels incomplete without having, because he loves his parents and he wants to be close to them, but it's still, they're very conservative and it's like they don't really talk about it. And he wants to have that close relationship, but he doesn't. And I think there's a part of him that still doesn't feel quite whole in a lot of ways. And that reflects on, then translate into so many other things that are in your life too when you don't have that feeling. So I think that's the general message. Yeah.
Well, let's, they talked about questions and answers because there's so much to say and so many thoughts. So I just want to see, does anybody have any questions? And you can ask us anything, honey, anything. Yeah.
Adam, how old were you when you went to the counselors, and what did they tell you, and then how did you receive it?
I was probably when I came up 16. Yeah, so it was within a few months after that. I honestly, that all of this seems like a big blur now. I kind of forget that whole project. I think I'll probably just try to block it out of my mind. But I don't even remember them really there being a particular message that they told me. It was more of questioning and just, I don't really feel like they had instructions on it where you need to be doing this or you need to be doing that. It was more kind of questioning me, well, why did you feel this way or why did you feel that way? And then I think then they went back to mom and be like, yeah, he's gay.
What they didn't do is they did say that. But I'll tell you this, when the story of one of the things that I think God did for me, one of those things I heard in my heart was, it was one of the worst nights I'd had right after Adam came out. And I lost it in the front yard of my house. It was at nighttime, thank goodness. And I had to get it together because Adam had some friends over. And when I fell to the ground seriously, sobbing my heart out, the voice I heard was, Hattie, I will put people before you to help you through this. That's what I heard. And somehow it comforted me, you know, and he didn't know why all of a sudden I just got up and wiped my tears off and went inside. But later that night, we had a guest, and this guest was the minister that the boys knew when they were growing up. But we were Methodist, and they get transferred, and this minister had actually gone to another city now. So we never got to see him at all, but his parents still lived in town. And so one night at 9:30, which in our area, nobody comes over your house, much less at 9:30 at night, and somebody knocks on the door, and it was him. And he said, I just had to come by. I know it's late, but I just felt like I needed to come by and say hello. Really? You were here. God put you up to this one, I'm telling you. So he comes in, and he steps through the threshold, and immediately I burst into tears again, you know. And I told him, and he was just so, because I knew he loved us. I knew he loved my family, and there wasn't any question in my mind that we would be judged by this minister at all. And sure enough, he was very comforting to us as parents, and just to support Adam. And I said, well, I really think I want to take him to a counselor. He said, well, if you want to, do that. But one piece of advice, don't take him to a Christian counselor. And I went, really? I mean, here, I've got a Christian minister telling me that. I'm going, really? He went, no, ma'am. He said, they have an agenda. Adam needs to be himself. Let Adam go in and discover this the way Adam is, not what they want him to be. So that was the piece of advice that got him to at least some counselors that let him be himself there, you know. Any other questions?
We didn't accept the new well.
No. Yes.
Adam accepted it.
Yes, I have a question. I really do commend you all for being as brave as you all are. How do you all respond to parents who are very rooted in their Christian belief and say that they just cannot condone homosexuality, but has a gay child? How do you all, what type of advice do you give to those?
Well, here's the advice that was given to me by the writer, and that's probably every single email I get on the first round. Many of my emails are many rounds, but the first round. And my the writer, Michael Alvear, said, hey, don't ever preach to them. Just tell your story. Just tell your story. And so, really hard not to preach, but I just would tell my story and how I dealt with it, and what my story was about how I felt about my faith, and how my faith actually got me through this. And I try to give them some advice on some films to see or some books to read, and trying to help them. And I encourage them, you know, to question everything, because their child is worth it. And it really is up to them. But many times, I've gotten emails back 5 years later that said, and I keep all my emails so I can put their name in my box there, and their first email will come up so I can remember the drama that it was then. And I've had them come up, and they've actually started PFLAG groups in Ohio or somewhere. So that they do come around. I mean, you know, the parents will come around. And the first one was, whew, you know, you wonder, but they do come around. And that's the thing. I counseled with a young boy this past week. I know I tell you all the time, and I'm sorry. Okay. But I counseled with a young boy this week whose parents are saying they will not accept it. And they are just, you know, it's child abuse in my opinion, the things that they're saying to this child. But I encouraged him, and I encourage all the kids, don't give up on them. Love them. Love them, because they need to be loved. But just don't give up on yourself either. Just send them things along, and just put a block into the words that they send you back, because they're going to be cruel, because that's their fear. Your parents are so fearful, and they also feel like they did something wrong, and they're trying to defend it. You can't be gay because I couldn't have made you gay, you know, in that routine. But just don't build that wall up. Don't build that wall up. That wall will be built. Go ahead. You want to say something? I'll back up.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say, thanks for letting me in there. That is a hard hurdle, and you have to realize everything that goes with it makes it a hard hurdle. Part of it's going, I can't turn my back on God. God says it's wrong, therefore, you know, God doesn't lie, all that kind of stuff. And if you're that involved in your church, and you're going to accept your child, and boy, everybody's going to jump on you now, you get to catch the same stuff that your son gets or your daughter gets to catch, because they're going to throw it on you, because, you know, we've heard this all the time. Y'all just gave up. Y'all decided to forget religion and just accept your child. And I go, okay, if that's what you want to believe, that's it. But my favorite one is I love to, because when they want to use that Bible and start beating me up, I love to go right back at them. Because I go, you know what? I don't see a place where Jesus said anything about homosexuality, but divorce and remarriage. 3 times he says, if you do that, you're committing adultery. Yet your church will offer the sanctuary, the preacher, and involve, and has no problem with that. I don't have a problem with that scripture either. But if we're going to be literal about one, let's be literal about the other. Let's don't do selective enforcement with the Bible. Let's use that enforcement with everything in the Bible.
Amen.
But
My wife's father's a Southern Baptist minister, and he has told us oftentimes when we ask him about this, he will say it also says in the Bible not to eat shrimp.
right.
And that's his only comment.
Yes. We live quite a ways away from here, and when I got the email that y'all were going to be here, I was like, I don't care if it's not convenient, I have to be here. I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for the work that you do. We are only a year into this process, but I can tell you within the first 24 hours, I was on your website, and it helped me a lot because your story is my story. I mean, I saw so much of myself and our family and your family, and just reading your words that it's going to be okay, and and I hadn't been on your website in a while, and I went on it earlier today, and I'm just crying. I was crying all over again.
I'd be crying with you.
Because I'm not the same person I was a year ago, but in wonderful and beautiful ways. So
Oh, that's
family is
real.
just your words ministered to me and to my family in a very unique and positive way.
I'm so glad
And I
to do
just
that.
wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say thank you.
I have to tell you, I got an email yesterday that basically the mother said to me that she said, I can see what you did is you just, how did she put it, Jeff? She said that you gave up, you changed the way you believe rather than believing that, that homosexuality is, you just changed your belief about homosexuality rather than
To accept your
to
son.
accept your son rather than the Bible. And I said to her, I said, well, the thing is, you found me through our website, and I can tell you right now that was divinely inspired. I'm just not that smart. I mean, seriously. I mean, that was put in my heart. It was put in my heart. I had already been writing things, and honestly, I do believe that God meant it to be. And I said to her, I said, here we are. I don't know who you are. We are strangers, and we're on the email together. If you don't think that's godly inspired, it is. So I appreciate you saying that, and I'm so happy that we can be a part of that. We really I am.
The one thing I guess I wanted to say too, I don't know if you're struggling in the community now as far as friends and in school and everything else, but I forget that that me being gay is even an issue. I don't even think about it. So I'll come here and I say, oh, that's right, I'm gay. That's something that's not normal, But it does, they had the whole, when there was all the suicides going on, they had that campaign, the It Gets Better campaign. And it truly does. I think of all my friends, like one of my best friends, he actually had it worse than I did as far as his time in school. I mean, because he'll tell the story about having to eat lunch in one of the teachers' room because he had no one to sit with at lunch and had no friends at all. And now, and he, really the biggest change I think happens when I went off to college because it's a very different scene there, and it's okay to be. That was kind of the deal I had with my parents. I'm not going to come out in high school except to a close friend of mine, but beyond that, I was like, when I go to college, I want to come out. I want to be able to be out and open, and it's a totally different world. It was never really was an issue, and that's how I met my friend actually that I was talking about. He ate lunch alone every day, and he's the same level that I am now, where he has a great relationship with his parents, and it's one of those things where it's not, I don't even think about it anymore. I have amazing friends, both straight and gay, that, it does. High school was a little better than middle school, but either way it was tough. And I think a lot of times you just don't realize you get in that secluded, environment of high school and thinking this is real life, and it's not. There's so much more. There's so much
Thank
more.
goodness for that. Like I graduated too, really.
And if you're getting any kind of harassment from anybody, remember you'll be their boss eventually.
You have a question?
I was going to say, how old did you say your website was, and did do you have any statistics on how successful it is, or how many people that you are reaching with that particular?
You know, it was put out in September of 2001, and that was when it was launched. And I don't keep, the guy who helped me with the website, he gets on sometimes and does the Google thingies, you know, where,
Hits and whatever
you know,
you do.
and he
It's
is
a
just,
technical term.
yeah, I do not know, but he is just overwhelmed with the amount of hits or whatever they do.
It had millions of hits
I
at
mean,
one
it
point,
was,
I
yeah,
think,
it was.
as far as hits, yeah.
But the emails, I'm gonna say, we've answered a minimum of 6,000 emails. And I have some, if there's anybody in here that I didn't answer your email, I apologize. Because what happens is they come in so fast, and then with my business, and I get so bogged down, and I try to scroll back and answer some of them, then by the time they got that over, I'm thinking, I don't know if I need to answer it now. So I do, but if ever you know anybody that writes me and I'll write back, send it again, because it'll get to the top this time, you know, so.
And do us a favor, those of you who are gay and have gay friends, especially those that haven't come out, ask them to come out at Easter, because Thanksgiving and Christmas, we get bombarded. They always come out at Christmas time. What is our So, got to ask them to spread it out. So.
Anybody else got any questions? Yeah.
Are you a member of a church community, and how accepting you are?
Well, that's our choice,
But there are churches out there, a lot in the, like in Midtown where I live, there are churches that are accepting.
Yeah, they
back
really
there.
are, and they're
They have a,
beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful churches, they are. And, you know, for me, everything changed, in all honesty, when we had to deal with, when the dominoes started falling, they fell really far, and the thing that I would say is that, just to be clear, I think my spiritual part of me is much stronger than it was when I was sitting on the third row back on the right-hand side of the church every Sunday. Because there, I was just told what to do, and I followed along. But now I'm alone, and I have to seek God in a way that I didn't have to seek God, or didn't feel that I had to seek God before. And so my spiritual beliefs are strong. And I did miss the church community. I did miss that because we were very much involved in it. But not enough to sit there and, just not enough to sit there. Because there's so many things that I just feel like are judgmental. And, I mean, that's wrong for me to say. Let's don't talk about that.
That's a whole,
just
that'd
not-
be a
yeah,
whole other
let's not-
session.
yeah.
No, I got hurt by the church. We were in the church, and we were an integral part of the church, but it would have been far better had Adam had cancer than being gay, because they could have supported us had he had cancer and gone, oh, I'm so sorry. With him being gay, it's sort of like going, this is wrong, and there's and you're just going, and that was where I guess that's when people started using the Bible to
As a weapon.
to beat him up, and then in turn beating us up. And I saw the hypocrisy, and I said, you know, that was what I told you about about divorce and remarriage, where Jesus talks about that. And I said, I'm trying to fight for y'all to accept my son, and you want to use that, and I can't even get you to discuss the hypocrisy of this. But the church is a business. It has to have money to keep its doors open. I began to see all that, and when you see all that, you just go,
But let's go back, I mean, because we can get carried away up here. I mean, but let's go back, because if it was, the teachings of Christ were what got me through the times when I needed it. I went back to because that was what I was raised on. And there's lots of other teachings in different religions, but for me, it was the teachings of Christ. It was my faith that got me through it. It was my faith that knew that God is love. And I learned more about God's love during this struggle than I ever knew before. You had a question there?
Yes, I mean, this is, you know, when the child comes out, he is one of those thankful times in life that nobody brings you any casseroles.
No, I love that. That's a good, say that
The child
again.
comes out, it's different, and that nobody's gonna bring you any casseroles or send you any flowers. No, you know, you're going through it, you know, for a while, generally by yourself. How has your friend community been for you in terms of, do you still have the same friends? Has there been any, I mean, our friends aren't very unfriendly. I mean, they're generally pretty accepting, and I'm just wondering.
Well, we waited for a long time before we shared with anyone, because they all went to the same church, you know, so we already knew what everybody was going stronger first. I wanted to be strong enough to be able to stand up to them, and which I did. And what I did is personally, I took several of the mothers, the female parts of them, to lunch and said, I just want you to know this. And this is the vinegar part of me. I was going to say another word, but I won't. Is that I didn't want you to have the privilege to talk behind my back, so I'm going to tell it to your face. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and now you can't talk about it behind my back because I've told you to my face. This is not a secret any longer. Adam is gay, and we're doing a website, and this is what's going to happen. And it really, honestly, because I knew I could just hear the little, and I'm going, there's not a secret, say it out loud, because I've said it out loud. I'm not ashamed of it. But a lot of our friends did not know what to say. They didn't know how to relate. I would have to say there's a handful of them that have been just extremely loving and love Adam, always have loved Adam and treat Adam the same way, no different, and I never saw any difference in the way they treat him. But, for the most part, we lost a connection with a lot of them, truthfully. So, but we have a whole new set of friends now. And a lot of we moved to Midtown, and Lord, that's the best place to live. I'm telling you, it's a party every night if you want it. But what we've got in Midtown is we have a big gay community, straight community, young, old. Nobody can move into our neighborhood and make you want to move away because they're already there. I mean, it is just a great place, and we have a lot of gay friends. And honestly, they're the best friends that we've ever had. Really, the best friends that we've ever had.
Are you finding, because, I sense in the, 15 years it's been since we started the process, is that, remember when we started, it was before even Ellen came out on TV, and her program was canned immediately after that. Then Will and Grace came along, and then there was no gay role model when Adam came out. There was none. There was no positive image of what a gay person could be. And so, but we see the whole society changing. We see attitudes changing. You see the numbers even on gay marriage. It's just it's now hitting a majority, just barely. But how do you feel with your friends? Are they okay?
Well,
Or?
we're newbies. We've only been at this for a year. And so we haven't told, 3 people.
Okay.
But my immediate girlfriends have been very loving, very accepting. They've been more than I've ever had.
And this is
Your girlfriends, you said? Your girlfriends.
And this is your son, daughter?
My son,
Your
he's
son-
22.
He's 22, but he's also not, is he interacting in the community or is he off on his own now?
He's in college, so he's not home right
It's-
now.
yeah.
Now, he is home every now and then, and he is interacting in the community, and he will be this summer. And last summer, he had just come out to us, and he said that was a shaky time of him trying to figure out what it is to be gay in Atlanta versus at school, and we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, Adams felt such a freedom at UGA, he felt the freedom when he came home. And I always wonder, too, now that you're saying that, I wonder how much of it was us, too.
Yeah.
When we came out and now Adam's around us and our friends or some people that we haven't seen together, were we just as uptight as we thought they
we were
might
on the
be?
defensive.
Yeah, thinking,
I think things are different than they were back then. I think that the moms that I talked to, that email me, many of them have girlfriends or friends that they've told, and they are a best friend that they've told, and that seems to go well, and they seem to be a support for them. Whereas the one person I told was not a support, and so I withheld from that point on, and I did not tell anybody for a
Well,
while.
I still do have the fear of the chitter chat stuff, and I played low for a year, just thought, well, any of that starts up immediately, maybe it'll just kind of.
But here's what I want to tell you. Get strong. Get strong. Get so strong. Get your confidence up that what you're doing is the right thing. You are loving your son just as God created him, and it doesn't matter what you think. And as long as you carry that and project that, their attitude will be different because they're going to, you're teaching them. Once again, you are going to be their teacher. And so get strong. Read things.
If they don't accept it, you don't want to be friends with them anyway.
Yeah, you just really need to, and there's another scripture that always came to my mind, and that that is the scripture where on the cross when Jesus said, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. That's the thing I constantly had to remind myself, is that they don't understand. They don't understand, and they won't
But you
understand.
taught, I mean, there's a lot of them that you taught,
Yeah.
you educated.
Oh, we
I will,
did.
and I will tell you this, it happened for me. Patty came out to the neighbor
I did.
first.
In the
So,
gym.
I got the
so,
call in college when she'd just come out to the neighbor when we first coming
so
out.
when,
Yay!
when she did that, though, then I knew it was okay. Then I would get up the courage, and it was like, because I didn't do it small. I did it in the hometown paper with a letter to the editor. So
But you were defending something.
I was defending. He went on this tirade about homosexuals, and I just finally had all I could stand. And I said, it pissed me off so bad. I just said, okay. I outed the entire family. But this, I will say this: nothing was more empowering when it finally came out.
Yeah.
I stood up to him, to everybody else, and I stood up for my son. I did what I'm supposed to do as a dad. I defended my child.
And that day in the gym, she was a dear friend of mine, and she'd always say, "Oh, I want my son to turn out like Adam." And so I'm in the real estate business, and she came over to me in the gym one day, and she said, "So who's looking at that house?" She's also a neighbor, and I said, I don't know, and because it wasn't, I didn't know what she was talking about. And she said, "Well, I hope it's not a gay couple."
There were so many of those.
I mean, really, I don't even know why. And I said, well, I don't know. I really wouldn't care. I'm just trying to get. She said, well, I would. And it just got. And I just immediately, I just said, well, let me just tell you, Paige, Adam is gay. And I think every treadmill in the gym. And I was so proud of myself. And she said, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I said, I know you didn't know, but the point is that you don't know who you're talking to sometimes, so be careful what you say. And so she was embarrassed, I was embarrassed. I left the gym immediately, got in the car, and called Jeff and said, I said it out loud. So from that point on, honey, it was said out loud. Anytime I even thought you were standing still, guess what?
I mean, to a stranger on the street, the weather's pretty. My son is gay.
No, but if I ever heard anyone speak badly about gay people, I would go up and say, I've been listening to you and you've offended me because I have a son that's gay. So please don't say those things again. And it shuts them up. I mean, I'm not sure that they like me, but it shuts them up. But you'll get the courage. Just get the courage, because that's what's going to be. You're going to be so empowered, and your son is going to feel so proud of you, because it does take courage. As parents, it takes courage to get in there and learn this stuff and understand it. It takes courage, and that courage for your child to come out, and it takes courage for the parents to cross that threshold and travel that journey.
Take one more question, and then we'll let them just sum up for today.
Did y'all three tell your other son?
She rounded everyone up. The dog, the cat, they were in there doing
Actually,
Or did he already know?
No, he was 11 years old. And right or wrong, we do everything as a family. And I grew up in a family with secrets. Everybody had a secret. I mean, don't tell so-and-so, everything. There were secrets. And I just said, you know what, we're not having secrets. Because he's going to see me crying. He's going to think he's done something wrong. So I pile him in the room with us. And really hard on Austin, because he was just starting middle school. And, middle school is very cruel. And he didn't understand it, and we had a really hard time as a family. But let me just fast forward and tell you that he's just got out of law school, just graduated from law school. And when he went off to college, Adam and him kind of have a teasing, a little relationship. And he told
You
Austin,
got a gay roommate, like a really gay roommate, Austin.
he did.
And I told, and
He ended
he
up
had
getting three. None of them were anybody he chose. But the last one was law school. He goes to law school. He sees his apartment the first time. He sees his roommate the first time. We get in the car, and he says, "All right, Mom and Dad, y'all got the gay dart right, don't? Is he gay?" And we went, "No, Joe's not gay."
No, I really didn't.
And so
pick up
about
on
3
that.
months later, I get an email that morning. So, Mom, Joe came out last night. But they lived together the whole 3 years in law school. So
And
Austin
it's really
is.
neat too. His group of friends. There's some that are straight that are getting married. But there's like gay couples like that are within that group of friends. So it's really neat that it's not even something.
So
to think
yeah,
about.
actually watching your transition through college and then watching Austin, and you saw how things changed. Even group dynamics
Yeah.
changed, where they had the gay couple was in their group of friends, core group of friends. You're going,
We were just.
hallelujah, the world is changing. It can change.
I am very proud of my family because, and that's why I'll sum this up, because doubting those first 3 years, I thought I'd done everything right. I mean, I dressed them right. I was on my room mother, and now this, I mean, everybody's going to look at me and think, you caused it, and they still do. But the thing I finally realized is that I am a domineering mother, but I have one gay son and one straight son, and I'm domineering to both. So, it's not my fault. But seriously, though, honestly, I'm so proud of my family because Adam and I have their own lives. They're different in a lot of ways, but yet we're still a family. We are a family. And if I can tell any advice to any mother is you keep that nest pulled in. And you demand that everybody stand up for each other as a family. And that's what we kept telling Austin. Austin, if this were something with you, we would be standing up for you. We are a family, and we stick together. And we're good.
Well, that was interesting too, because you told my mom that time when Adam first came out and said something. How would you?
Well, basically, his family had a struggle because there was a religious thing going on, and she was like really just kind of. His mom's really sweet, and so I just said, well, you know what? Here's the deal. He said, you all are either going to accept him and not tolerate him, or we just won't come home anymore. And she said, I can't believe you would say that. I said, I'm telling you that right now. I'm not walking in on those Thanksgiving dinners and everything and everybody look at us weird and act like we're so weird. No, that's not going to happen. Well, let me tell you, they all stood up. I mean, I have to hand it to them. They got with it. They did.
It really is. That's sort of like demand how people are to treat you. Don't accept what they're going to give you if it's less than what you should be accepting. You deserve respect. Your child deserves respect. Nothing has changed. And don't accept anything less than that.
We've taken up enough time. Thank you.